Welcome to Traders Consigliere Weekly Analysis. We look at the fundamentals and the technicals for the upcoming week to find potential trades we could possibly take. So we look at the fundamentals from the previous week to see what has changed, right? So we had heavy fundamentals last week. On Wednesday, we had producer price index for the dollar, which came in the green, right? Green numbers, which is higher than the forecast. That means dollar still remains bullish. If the rate hikes were working, these numbers are supposed to come in lower than the previous month and in the red. On Thursday, for the British pound, we had GDP, which came in as expected, higher than the previous month, which still makes the British pound bullish because if the rate hikes are working, the economy needs to be pushed into a recession, right? So the numbers are still in the green, so still bullish for the pound. For the dollar, we had consumer price index, which came in. This was the biggest fundamental of last week. These numbers came in the green, right? Not a big shock to the market, but still came in bullish. It came in the same number as the last month. We were forecasted to drop a little bit, but the number still came in stagnant. Not a good thing. If the hikes are supposed to be working, these numbers are supposed to be going down, right? Even the core CPI, which came in stagnant. So numbers were pretty much stagnant. And if you look at the consumer price index report, the main contributing factor, which seems to be the most important statistic, is the energy, right? The energy index is what I've been keeping an eye on because it is heavily manipulated. And if you look at the numbers, we see a drastic drop, right? So the question is this also has it been manipulated, these numbers, to get the inflation down, right? So time will tell. Let's look at the current week fundamentals. We have on Monday, we have Empire State Manufacturing Index. This is basically the New York Manufacturing Index, and it's forecasted to come in the negative, which is bearish for the dollar if that's how the numbers come in, because the previous number was in the positive. So these usually affect commodities from what I've observed. On Tuesday, we have claimant count change, which is the labor statistic for the pound, which is supposed to come in 2.3k, right, higher than the previous month. So this is a change in number of people claiming unemployment. So if we have higher unemployment rate, which is not a good thing for the economy, but for the inflation to go down, it is a good statistic. If unemployment has increased, that means the rate hikes are still working, right? We have the retail sales coming out on the same day, on Tuesday, for the dollar, which is forecasted to drop, right? So that means the rate hikes are working if the numbers do come in lower than the previous month. So that will be important. I like to keep an eye on the Chinese yuan because I find they negatively correlate with the dollar. So this number is coming in at the negative as well, lower than the previous month, that is. So if that case, that means inflation in China is going down, right? So something I keep an eye on. On British pound, we have British pound CPI, very important data, and it is forecasted to drop a very tiny bit by 0.1%. as forecasted. So very important statistic to keep an eye on. If the number do come in positive or higher than the previous month, that makes the British pound very bullish because that forecasts the Bank of England to possibly take a higher rate hike later. And then on Thursday, we have unemployment claims, and we have Fed Chairman Powell speak. This is not a scheduled Fed speech. This is for the economic club, and maybe he may drop certain important information regarding the economy, maybe something to keep an eye on. And on Friday, the last trading day of the week, we have the British pound retail sales, which is forecasted to come in the negative, right? So a lot of fundamentals, and we probably will see a lot of moves in the market. So let's start with the dollar index. So the dollar index is quite bullish, right? Anyone can tell by looking just by on the weekly chart. It is bullish. We had a bit of a pullback on the dollar index, but I still remain bullish. Possibly if price doesn't break above this area and then tries to break this area, maybe we see a tiny pullback on the dollar. But if not, I think we will be heading towards that 109, 110 area that I keep mentioning the last few weeks. So that's what I'm looking at with the dollar. So let's look at dollar Japanese yen. So on the weekly chart, we remain bullish. It's a very bullish pair. I mean, if you look at the past few weeks, we have been uptrending. We have hit the all-time high where we have seen a bit of a reaction at the 150 area. On the daily time frame, as well, we're quite bullish, but we have had a lot of choppiness, right? The last week. And in fact, we tried to take a trade around this area at the 12-hour supply. It was a quite annoying trade. We were floating for a long time, but eventually we closed it at break even. So now what I'm looking at is to see what price does at this area here, right? If it can give us a bullish structure shift at the 12-hour demand, right? Or if price keeps choosing to push up to the all-time high, which was around this area here, around that 150 to 151 area, I'm gonna just observe to see if price again chooses to come up here and then switch structure, right? Give us a clear structure shift to possibly take a short position and a counter trend short position. So let me mark off this area. This is about at the 149 300 area, right? So 149 300, and the main the big 12-hour supply zone is here, which is around that 150, let's call it 150 250 here, right? A quarter point. So I want to see what price does at these two areas. Let me delete this one so you don't get confused. Right, so that's all I'm waiting for with the dollar Japanese yen. So let's look at British pound and Japanese yen. Not a lot of trending moves at the moment with this pair. The main thing has to do with both the currencies having the similar strength. If you notice the weekly chart at the moment, we see a lot of consolidation and even a head and shoulders, right, which has pretty much formed. So nothing confluent like a clear trend. I would like to see maybe even this low here break, and then maybe look to take short positions if that makes sense, right? Or even these highs up here break. On the daily chart, we have a tiny retracement, right, which broke these highs. So if price does choose to go towards this area here, this supply zone, which is a very strong supply zone, right, from 2015. So if we do get a reaction off here, I'm definitely going to be taking a short position, a counter trend position, right? So this area is at, let's call it 187 800. So if price does retrace all the way there, right, pushes up, then I'll be looking to take sell positions, right? Or if price actually doesn't do that, it chooses to push down towards this daily demand, I'll again wait for a structure shift to possibly take a position around here, which would be at 175, let's call it 800, right? So these are two positions I'll be waiting for. So got to be a bit patient with the British pound and Japanese yen. So let's look at British pound dollar now, right? So we are bearish, right, on the weekly chart as well. Clear bearish push, right, and it hit our weekly supply demand that I mentioned last week, and we did see a reaction of there. I was hoping to capitalize on this push, and price did not actually give us that clear retracement. It did. We have a supply zone up here. I was hoping for price to retrace here, and then maybe you can target that supply zone there, but price was a bit choppy last week, and I believe on this week, on the 6-hour time frame, on this demand zone, we could possibly capitalize on long positions, which would be a counter trend long position, right? So risk has to be managed accordingly. So if price chooses to push down here, I'll look to get in at this area here and then possibly target this supply zone here, somewhere here, right? So this area is at 128.50, right? And if price doesn't do that, if it chooses to actually push up towards this supply, right, then I'll wait for a structure shift instead and then take a position here. So this would be at 123.700. So that's what I'm waiting for, the British pound dollar. If you do get a position here, I'll possibly take it with lower risk, right? So that's what I'm waiting for here. So now let's look at gold. With gold, gold is quite interesting, and it's heavily affected with the fundamentals at the moment. Due to the Israel-Hamas conflict, in times of war and uncertainty, investors flock towards lower risk assets such as gold, and money gets flown a lot towards commodities, right? So that's why we have been seeing a lot of bullish pressure. If you look at the weekly candle, it's a Marubozu candle, right? A Marubozu candle pretty much tells you that there are no wicks to the upside or the downside, which shows you clear heavy momentum from the open of the week to the close of the week, that the buyers were in control. So even though if price is still at my weekly zone, I would avoid actually taking any trades, any structure shift trades. It would be a bit risky, but I'll update you in the Telegram group. If I see a very clear confluent structure shift, then it would make sense. So price has pushed up, right? And at the moment, what I'll wait to see is if, like I mentioned, if price can give us that structure shift to maybe capitalize on counter trend moves, which I'd be very careful with, or if price can give us a full retracement towards this daily demand which was left by this push, right? And then wait for a structure shift to maybe take a long position. So if you look at the price over here, the price is at let's call it 1831, right? Around this area I'll be waiting to see what happens, and at the moment it's already at the supply zone, so I won't mark out the price. So that's what I'm looking for with gold. So I decided to even start trading silver from this week. So with silver pretty much reacts the same way as gold. It's a commodity, right? So if you look at silver, it looks a bit more clear. So if you look at the weekly time frame, it is bearish, right? Structure remains bearish. On the daily time frame, it remains bearish, right? But we did see the same push that happened. Same thing with gold. And it's also hit a weekly supply, right? So the same thing I'll be looking for here to see if price can give us the structure shift to possibly take a short position, maybe targeting this demand zone, right? Or the same thing with gold, if price actually goes all the way down to this demand and then gives us the structure shift, then I'll look to take a long position. So very simple analysis. So this is at 121.3, and we are at the supply, which is at 22.8, right? So I'll just leave that there. So that's what I'm looking at with silver. Now let's look at the indices. Let's look at SPX. So on the weekly time frame, we are bearish, right? You see the bearish flow. Look at the weekly. Look at how beautifully the weekly candle has rejected our supply area that I marked off last week, and you see how it reacted off, and then we started to see bearish order flow, right? So at the moment, I don't see clear indication of any trades. Last week you could have capitalized off this move, right? We saw a nice clear structure shift that I keep mentioning, a push, a structure shift, breaking the last low, and possibly getting somewhere around here to maybe target other demand zones, right? So the trade is done, it's mitigated. So that's why I at the moment I currently can't see any clear trades. So for the moment I'll be patient with it, and I'll update in the free Telegram group if there is anything else with S&P. NASDAQ is similar, pretty much mimics the S&P 500, which is the same thing that happened. We had a supply zone, daily supply zone that got mitigated, and I did call out these short positions in the Telegram group, which you could have capitalized on. Right, we had a nice clear push. We had a nice clear structure shift. Right, if you look at the 1 hour time frame, we did get the structure shift which happened. So at the moment I don't see clear trades because we already got that structure shift and the supply zone did get mitigated. So the only thing I'll wait to see if price retraces all the way down here towards this 8 hour demand and see what price can do here, right, which I had marked off at this area here, right, at 4336 4334 area, right, 14334, right. So I'll wait and see what price does here. So nothing interesting with the indices at the moment. Let's look at US30, Dow Jones. So on Dow Jones, it's clearly bearish, right? So on the daily as well, clearly bearish, right? Bearish flow, and it did not clearly truly break above the last swing high on the daily chart. I still consider it bearish. So on the 12-hour time frame, we did have a push, but no clear position here. So just like the other indices pair, like S&P 500 and NAS 100, the Dow Jones doesn't seem really clear at the moment. So I would avoid trading it for now. If I do see new price structure develop, or even maybe new supply demand areas form, I'll possibly take a trade, right? I'll update that in the free Telegram group, so join there. So that's it for this week. Join the free Telegram group to stay updated.